and the next big challenge, or one of the big challenges ahead, is on the surplus. It promised a surplus by 2012-13. The rising dollar seems to suggest about $10 billion has been mentioned that might come off the bottom line. But Julia Gillard on the Nine Network this morning was absolutely emphatic on this point. Here she is.
The budget will be back in the black, back in surplus in 2012-13. Yes, the budget is coming back to surplus, Laurie, in 2012-13 as promised. You are right, the high Australian dollar has had an impact on revenues and there is consequently revisions that will be seen in the upcoming mid-year economic and fiscal outlook. They particularly affect the minerals resource rent tax and all of that will be in front of people's eyes in the updated figures. But we are determined to drive the biggest fiscal consolidation since the 1960s. We are going to keep up the discipline and we will bring the budget back to surplus.
Gerard, the biggest fiscal consolidation since the 1960s. That's what she's promising.
Well, I wasn't aware of any great fiscal consolidations in the 1960s. I was aware of one in the 1950s that occurred very briefly just before the Korean War, or during the Korean War. But the problem here is, which is what was known in the election campaign, these are very much projections. They're very much wish fulfillments. And I saw Graham Richardson say the other day, if the government doesn't get the budget back in the surplus by 2012, 2013, it'll have a real credibility problem. I agree with that, but it's not that easy to do, and everyone knows the dollar fluctuates, it goes up and down, and terms of trade fluctuate. Yeah. So this is very much...
But she's absolutely determined, as you see there, so that does suggest they're prepared to make
Well, it could be the wrong thing to do if there's another international recession, and as Gerard says, these are just projections on these figures. You can do it. Of course you can do it. You can just do some more cutting of government spending or get some more revenue. I mean, an example is they've got an overall cap on government spending, but it's overall of 2% real growth. But they're exempting some things. They're exempting the Defence Department from that. It can grow at 3%. Now, there's no reason you couldn't pull defence back for a few years to 2%. After all, a Conservative government in Britain is slashing into defence spending.
But isn't revenue increasing as well all this time? We're not just losing revenue, but
the point...
as unemployment...
this is the point they're making about the rise in the Australian dollar. That reduces the profits for exporters and therefore reduces the amount of company tax. So revenue's falling
as well.
No, but revenue's falling in that from company tax as a result of that. And if the economy is growing, if it grows a little bit slower, it only has to be a little bit slower than they're projecting, then revenue will fall there too.
The burden the government has at the moment is it spent more than it needed to. And having spent more than it needed to, it's now got a real problem. But it's got, because of the nature of the debate, if it doesn't bring back a surplus, it'll be conceded to have failed. Tony Abbott is very good at pointing these matters out, and this is a very real problem. And if it means big cuts, they're going to be big.